It often starts quietly. You can't pinpoint the exact moment, but somewhere between then and now, you learned a damaging lesson. Love isn't a given. It's something you have to earn. Warmth becomes conditional, affection a reward for good behavior, not something you deserve just by existing. Think back. Maybe it was a sharp look from a parent when you spoke out of turn, or the heavy silence that followed when you disappointed them. You didn't understand the rules of their game, only the painful consequences. Every time you sensed you'd upset someone, a small, scared knot tightened in your chest. You promised yourself, never again. And that, right there, is the birthplace of people-pleasing. It isn't born from an abundance of kindness, but from a desperate need for survival. When your very sense of safety and belonging hinges on how happy you make others, you grow up believing that maintaining the peace is your sole responsibility. So, you become a master of emotional management. You learn to fix moods, to fill uncomfortable silences, to make everything okay, even when and especially when it's not. You force a smile when you're seething with anger. You nod in agreement when you're bone-tired. You apologize when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. And with every false appeasement, you drift a little further from your true self. Let's be clear. Deep down, people-pleasers are terrified. We're afraid that saying no means losing love. We're afraid that disappointing someone means we'll be abandoned. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's a conditioned response. For many of us, this pattern was learned from emotionally inconsistent parents. One day they were warm and loving, the next, distant and cold. You became a human radar, constantly scanning for shifts in tone, interpreting every sigh. You learned to read their moods before they even spoke a word. You began to mold yourself around their reactions, internalizing the belief that your emotions were too much, your needs an inconvenience. Slowly but surely, you became the easy one, the helpful one, the one who never, ever caused trouble. You didn't intend to disappear. You just learned it was so much safer that way. Psychologists have a name for this: the fawn response. It's a trauma reaction, right alongside fight, flight, and freeze. When you're faced with a perceived threat, like disapproval, you don't run or fight back. You appease. You trade your authenticity for acceptance, hoping to stay safe by keeping everyone else happy. But here's the harsh truth. People-pleasing doesn't make others love you more. It just makes them more comfortable. And comfort is fleeting. Real, unconditional love is not. When you live your life trying to meet everyone else's needs, you rob them of the chance to know and love the real you. True healing starts the moment you begin to question the lessons of your childhood. The moment you realize that your parents' definition of good might have just meant quiet, not honest. Their idea of respect might have been obedience, not connection. You can forgive them for what they didn't know and still acknowledge the harm it caused. Because pretending it didn't matter is the very fuel that keeps the people-pleasing engine running. Every time you silence your own voice to keep someone else comfortable, you reinforce that old painful story. My needs don't matter. My truth isn't welcome here. But you have the power to write a new one. Saying no isn't cruel. It's clarity. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's a profound act of self-respect. And disappointing others isn't failure. It's the unavoidable consequence of living honestly. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about choosing your truth, even when your voice shakes. Every time you say no, and the world doesn't end, your nervous system learns that you're safe. Every time you show up authentically, and someone chooses to stay, you dismantle those old, false beliefs brick by brick. Healing is about teaching your body a new language, one where safety comes from your own truth, not from external approval. It will feel incredibly awkward at first. You'll stumble. You'll over-explain yourself. You'll be flooded with guilt for setting even the smallest, most reasonable boundary. But please, keep going. Every uncomfortable no is a foundational stone for a more authentic and wholehearted life. And then comes what might be the hardest part: the silence that follows. When you stop performing, when you stop dancing for approval, some people will pull away. They were never loving you. They were loving your compliance. That loss stings. It feels like rejection. But I promise you, It's a redirection, a clearing of the path toward people who can meet you with truth, not demand your disappearance. The first stage of this healing is grief, grieving the unconditional love you never quite received. Grieving the relationships that only survived because you were the one carrying all the weight. But grief is the gateway to freedom. You'll start to notice things. You'll feel when your giving is draining you instead of nourishing you. You'll recognize when your kindness is actually fear in disguise. That is the moment to pause and ask yourself one transformative question. Am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't? That single question changes everything. Because healing isn't about becoming cold or selfish. It's about finding balance. It's about finally internalizing that your feelings, your time, and your peace matter too. You can care for people deeply and still say no. You can love someone with all your heart without being responsible for their happiness. At first, boundaries will feel wrong because your body confuses honesty with the threat of rejection. But keep practicing. The relationships that survive your honesty are the only ones worth keeping, the ones built on a foundation of truth, not a performance. Over time, you stop apologizing for taking up space. Calm no longer feels like the calm before a storm. You start to actually like yourself, even on the days when others don't. And that's when the biggest realization hits. People-pleasing was never really about other people. It was about the scared child inside of you, just trying to feel safe. Healing means becoming the adult that child desperately needed. The one who wraps them in a hug and says, "You don't have to earn love, you are love." Start small. When guilt creeps in, remind yourself, this ache is the feeling of growth. When someone reacts poorly to your boundary, remember, their response is about them, and it does not define your worth. When you catch yourself about to launch into a long-winded explanation, just pause. Breathe. You don't owe the world an apology for being real. Because true peace isn't found in keeping everyone happy. It's found in the quiet confidence of being authentic, even when that honesty makes waves. You weren't born to be agreeable. You were born to be whole. And when you finally stop trying to be who everyone else needed you to be, you become who you were always meant to be. That's the moment you stop being a people pleaser and start, finally, being a person again. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me today. If this resonated, consider subscribing for more conversations like this. Take good care of yourself.